Why Metal might grow stronger than Rock Lee. Metal Lee has a bit of a problem compared to most of the new gen that are children of known Naruto characters or even adopted like Shinki is. Most of them have something that shows that they can be stronger than their parents. That's something that Kakashi himself said. The next generation will always surpass the previous one. It's one of the never-ending cycles of life. As you can tell, the examples are everywhere, Boruto being so much stronger at a younger age, Shikadai being able to learn wind release, etc. Many of which being mastering techniques that the previous generation has, whether satisfying or nor due to plot demanding it. For those who aren't kids of the old gen, they have been given, should be given, a special kind of leeway. They are able to create things of their own and form techniques without being bound by a legacy. Denki, despite being disliked so much, is the best example of this. He's a kid who has no actual good ninjutsu or physical prowess but high intelligence combined with his knowledge of hacking and tools, confused about his laptop though, to the point he should be in Sumire's position. However, out of all of them, Metal seems to be in a different situation. Metal is a character that is liked and disliked by many. He's the son of Rock Lee, who was a fan favorite in Naruto since his first appearance and fight with Gaara. Metal was cursed by this because there were too high expectations for him, despite no hint to him meeting them. Unlike his father, he's initially shy around other people, having performance anxiety which becomes a running gag with him until they slow it down, the gag. Metal was introduced as one of the students in the academy that trained constantly, being 4th or 5th behind Boruto and others due to his anxiety. He couldn't fight well at times because of this as well, a problem stated in episode 70, makes me wonder why no one tried to help till them. Metal's abilities are thus: he's an adept taijutsu specialist, described a genius in the Lee clan, in the novels because we only see his dad, but I'm counting it cause the novels are canon, being able to fight adults as well as jounin. He trained with shuriken to being to aim at people, knowing how to redirect a demon wind shuriken by kicking it. On EP3 he messed up, able to catch them with his bare hands and use a dragon throw technique with them. I don't know what this was, maybe 1010 taught him. He has incredible speed and physical strength, being described as Boruto one of the fastest genin in class and able to break concrete and stone with his kicks without the need for chakra-enhanced strength like Sarada or Sakura. He seems to have high endurance, a result of training with his father constantly, and given his bandaged hands then we can assume they are in a state that Lee's hands were during his fight with Sasuke in part 1. Unlike his father, and strangely unbeknownst to some people, he can use ninjutsu. During the bell test he used the ceiling technique with all of his other classmates. So, he can use jutsu, he just uses taijutsu and ninja tools like shuriken. Finally, he's able to open the gates, sort of. During the academy arc he opens the 3rd gate or higher, a sign of this was the expulsion of chakra and his red skin. Although he only officially learns how to do so on episode 70, which I will get to later. When fighting with his anxiety, he creates unpredictable movements that even a taijutsu master like Rock Lee or Guy could not follow, though this is worthless because it's never brought up again. It's implied he's the strongest on his team. Metal's situation is different because his way of being stronger than his dad is different than the other new gen that is Naruto descendants. With a character like Inogen, he is capable of becoming stronger because he can master his father's jutsu and his mother's. Boruto has multiple chakra affinities because of his genes, among other things. Mitsuki speaks for himself and Chocho has her father's family techniques and lightning affinities she inherited from Karui, an affinity common with Kumo Ninja. Most if not all of the new gen that is related to Naruto characters are that way. Shinki is an exception to this rule because he was born with his power and Gaara adopted him. Metal, however, doesn't have any of that. Let me explain. When I described Metal's abilities, if you slim it down enough then you have a character description that just describes Rock Lee. See, that's the problem with Metal, he doesn't have a secondary thing about him that indicates him being stronger than his dad later on, not like the ones I've listed. He doesn't combine taijutsu with chakra nature, think Rapid Strike Urshifu, he doesn't use Genjutsu, Illusion Fist, he doesn't even weapons like Ten. Unlike with the other who are children of well-known shinobi, Metal only has his father. As of now, we don't know who his mother is or what she can do, we don't know if he has a Kekkei Genkai he just hasn't unlocked, or if his mom has a chakra affinity she passed down to him or even if she has a taijutsu style for him to learn, we don't know. Metal doesn't have something straightforward like Boruto, Shikadai, or Sarada that would guarantee him becoming stronger than his father. but he doesn't have two things that may lead that way, and maybe he could become stronger than Guy, though, given the Kawaki situation, he has to live that long. 1. He has his dad, Udon, and Guy. This sounds weird, but I can explain. For reference, you can say that Lee and Metal's relationship is the same as Guy and Lee's, but in reality, if more in the sense of how Dai and Guy father-son relationship was. Guy was taught and raised by his father alone away from the village. Mother was referenced, but may have died in childbirth. Guy was a constant failure that tried over and over to get into the academy. He was lucky because Dai, humiliated as the eternal genin, did everything in his power to instill positivity, duty, a sense of sacrifice and perseverance into his son. This is shown by Dai, whether through his training, their father-son talks, or even Dai giving his life for his son. Guy loves taijutsu because it was through that Dai taught him to be a man, and as a father was the only thing Dai could give him. Lee, on the other hand, wasn't as fortunate as Guy, starting out. Lee was teased and mocked by all given his inability to use jutsu. He didn't have parents that encouraged him to keep trying or even any teachers in the academy that helped him. For all extensive purposes, he was seen as useless. Guy sought him out because he continued to try through his constant humiliation. It begs the idea that Guy didn't just see himself in Lee as much as he saw his father. It's safe to say that if Lee was taught by anyone else, he wouldn't get anywhere. Lee admired Guy because he only used taijutsu and was an amazing shinobi. He was the embodiment of Lee's dream. Guy was the first person not to give up on Lee or put him down. Guy trained him and Lee modeled himself after Guy to the point of changing the way he dressed and even his hair. However, something arguably toxic happened out of the two. In the fight with Gaara, Lee opens the gates, he loses and ruins his body, crippling himself, nearly losing his dream of being a shinobi. Despite what might be said by fans, or even Kishimoto himself, Guy made a foolish decision teaching Lee the gates. Lee's dream and his obsession to fulfill it causes him to fight without retreating at times, mainly his fight with Gaara. Lee could have given up, saw that he wasn't strong enough, and trained harder. However, because of his dream, his humiliation, he chose to fight to the end because he believed that if he gave up or lost then his dream would be gone forever and everything people said would be true. Guy also contributed to this. Despite knowing the risks and putting a restriction on the gates, Guy encouraged Lee to go forward through the whole match despite the damage it would result in Lee taking afterward and allowing Lee to use the primary lotus. It was because of Guy's want to see Lee succeed, to see this analog of himself and his own father succeed, that threw caution to the wind and blinded himself and Lee with their ambition. Metal, whom some would argue doesn't deserve better, was lucky to have the best of both worlds. He has a father who, despite having some of his original quirks, trains him with a firm hand while showing him love and affection that Guy was given by Dai. You can say he's more careful, not to just teach Metal the gates until he knows that he can handle it until he could handle or work through his anxiety. He also has Guy who we've seen offer additional advice for personal growth, though it's hinted that Lee doesn't wish to depend on Guy too much. Udon is also present. Unlike Konohamaru or Moegi, Udon seems to have a bit of a better handle over his students. He's stern and doesn't allow for outrageous and dangerous behavior. He doesn't reward Iwabe, Denki, and Metal for going after the Byakuya gang. He punishes them. He doesn't lose track of them on a mission. He allows them to make mistakes and tells them what they did wrong. It's this sense of self-control and responsibility. He is the best to teach Lee and his group. Metal also has the opportunity to become stronger in the sense Guy had because, unlike Lee, he was given this training earlier on. He's younger than Lee when he started to open the gates or even the kind of training that he's doing. Remember, Lee was older than Naruto and the others and even skipped taking the Chunin exams 1 year. He's even at a younger at when Guy first learned about the gates. Metal has been given every kind of teacher necessary to grow stronger. 3 of them were even considered failures at times, and through their experience, they can help him to better himself. 2. He doesn't usually think about what he's doing and it's emotional. In the anime, there are points where many characters master techniques in a little time. Chocho's butterfly technique is an example. Before, Chocho could only use it to change her appearance. Now she can use its ability in full. This came about from a need to assist Anko. Chocho could do it halfway, she just needed an emotional push. Metal first unlocked the 3rd gate or higher on episode 3, however, he didn't actually do that himself. Metal didn't know how to unlock the gates back then, his father never taught him. New didn't give him the ability either, all it did was make him angry and he just unlocked it. Much like Chocho, he was given an emotional push to do so. Unlike Chocho, he didn't know how to use the gates, he didn't control what happened or even remembered. Metal wasn't thinking when he unlocked the third gate, he was just pissed and it wasn't something he did on purpose. Something like that happened again when he unlocks the first gate. He wasn't thinking when he attacked his father, he never intended to open it or use the stance associated with the gates, he just reacted and opened it. Even his anxious fist, when he was fighting through his anxiety, he wasn't thinking and only reacting to his father's attacks and the peanut gallery. He doesn't unlock the gates the same way that Lee or Guy did. If there was any indication that they would make him stronger in the future, then that would be it. It may seem cheap or lazy, but it's something. The rest is speculation.